This is Innovledia.
Hello and welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create 3D text and a camera within your scene in Maya. Alright? To create 3D text, you have to go to Create menu and click on Type. This will create a default 3D text which you can change using the attribute editor. Here, the first thing that you can change is the content of the text, from 3D text to anything, like I am typing here Hulk. You can change its font from this drop down. I am selecting Impact. You should also change the name of your 3D text from type 1 to an appropriate title, so that it is easy to identify it within the outliner. Now, coming below, we have these tabbed sections, and each of them contains parameters for modifying different properties of the text, including its animation. For now, we are going to take a look at these two most important sections, which is this text and the geometry tab. Alright? Under the text tab, we have these more settings on character, such as you can set the alignment of the text with respect to 3D origin, and also the font size. There are other settings here which are not always that necessary, but you can still check this out by yourself. Using this, you can actually change the letter spacing and spacing in between the words, and so on. Alright? Now, the Geometry tab is the most important section here. As we are creating a 3D text, here under this tab lies all its settings. The curve resolution is actually the parameter for changing the density of polygons or edges on the letters that have a curvature, such as this U. If I change this by dragging this slider, the number of edges will change around the curvature of this letter. This is useful for making the curvature either smooth or rough, just as we want. You can leave the collinear angle and distance to their default values for now. This checkbox below with the title Delete Caps is used to delete the caps of the letters, which is actually the front and back sides of the letters. The side part remain as it is. If you are looking for this type of text, then you can keep this checkbox checked. Now, coming below, we have these parameters for extrusion, using which you can actually set the depth of the letters by changing this distance value. You can change the divisions of the extrusion for adding more detail to the letters. Below that, we have a checkbox for enabling bevel for the text. You can check this if you want to bevel the letters of your text. You can change the bevel distance to set the width of the beveled corners, like how wide the bevel would be. The offset value will determine the beginning point of bevel, like whether it is starting all the way from the center of the depth of these letters or it is starting from just around the corners. The divisions can be used to set the roundness of the bevel. More the number of divisions, greater is the roundness, and vice versa. Always remember that beveled corners account for the highlights that we see on the corners because of the bouncing of light due to such an angular surface. Alright? So, this was all about creating a 3D text and customizing it to your need. Now, let us move on to creating a camera within your scene. Creating a camera is as easy as creating a primitive object. You just have to go to Create menu, then Cameras, and click on this camera option. This will create a new camera at the center of your scene. And from here, you can move the camera to any appropriate location of your choice using the Move tool. You can even rotate it using the Rotate tool. You can name your camera to something like Primary Camera or anything you wish. Now, To switch to this camera view, all you have to do is go to Panels menu. Under Perspective, you can select between the default camera and the camera that you have created within your scene. I am selecting this primary camera that I have created. And here we have switched to that camera view. As you can see, the name of the camera below has changed from Perspective to Primary Camera. Alright? Using this mode, you can do a lot of things like positioning your camera, which is the most important thing. And also you can change all its settings within the channel box like a real-world camera. Not just this, you can also lock your camera so that you don't move it by mistake. And that can be done by clicking on this lock icon on the View panel toolbar. Once the camera is locked, you cannot move it anymore, and hence you cannot navigate using that camera like tumbling, panning or anything. The same option is present under the View menu as well. Then you can switch back to the default camera by going into Panels, Perspective and selecting PERSP from here. You can also lock a camera or any object directly by selecting it and then selecting all of its attributes within the channel box by dragging your cursor on them. And then you have to right click and hold and select Lock Selected. This will lock all of the selected attributes. You can unlock them in the same way. Alright? One last thing that I would like to show you is this, that you can always create a new camera from the current perspective view by going to View menu and clicking on Create Camera from View option. This will create a new camera right at that particular position and angle from where you are looking at the subject. You can see that the name here has changed from PERSP to PERSP1, which means that we are currently looking through our new camera. You can switch back to the default camera from the Panels menu. Here is the camera that we just created. You can rename it from PERSP1 to anything you wish, like Shooting Cam. This is very much helpful when you have found a certain camera angle quite appropriate for your subject and you want to create a camera right at that particular position and angle as soon as possible without losing that view. Alright? So, this is how we can create 3D text and a camera within our scene in Maya. See you in the next video.